Shri Gaura Purnima from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita of Srila Krishna Goswami, with the translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder acarya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In the beginning, we'll speak on Gaura Tattva, and then after myself, the really qualified speakers will say something about Gaura Lila and the Sankirtan in particular. So, the best statement of the tattva, the truth, the philosophical conclusions regarding the identity and the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be found in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In the Mangala-charana verses, there are about 14 or so verses in the beginning of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita which very nicely clarify the position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These verses are in Sanskrit. And of course, as you know, every one of these Mangala-charana verses is elaborated at great length throughout the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in fact, they're also repeated several times later on in the same work. So they're very, very important verses. Those who have the capacity can try to memorize them. It's always auspicious to meditate on the Lord's feet of the Lord in this way. Srila Prabhupada made a conscious decision to translate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita rather than other works that are hagiographical works about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for example, Chaitanya Bhagavatam, mainly because the philosophical conclusions and siddhanta of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya are so nicely stated and so authoritatively corroborated by Srila Krishna Goswami. And in the beginning, as I mentioned, in these Mangala-charana verses, he with great eloquence, he states the philosophical conclusions regarding Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity. He put the very important things in the very beginning, and he elaborated them later on. We have to remember the context in which this book was written. Around the beginning of the 17th century, it was finished. At that time, Srila Krishna Goswami was very old, and he writes in this book that he's not sure that he was able to finish it, but he did. Much in the same way that Srila Prabhupada also gave us the very essence of the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam in the form of his Krishna book. So Krishna Goswami has given the very essence of Chaitanya Charitamrita in these beginning verses, which he then explains in great length. Obviously, we won't have time to explain each of them in the same depth that Kaviraj Goswami has described, but at least we can try to elaborate on some salient points. So I'm going to first read through these verses, and then we'll pick at least one of them and elaborate some things in Srila Prabhupada's works. And then we'll go on and read some other passages also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So kindly hear. Vande Guru Nisha Bhaktan Isham Ishavatarkan Tat Prakasham Chakti Krishna Chaitanya Samyakam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodata Gaurodai Pushpagamta Chitra Shandatamamada. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gaura to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Yada Dvaidam Brahmopanishadi Tadatyasya Dhamma Anta Maryami Purashiti Sosyam Shadidhavaha Sharaishwarya Purno Yaya Bhagavansa Swayavayam Chaitanya Krishna Jagati Paratatvam Paramiha. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body, and the Lord known as the Supersoul is but his localized plenary portion. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. Anarpita chanim chirat karayavatirna kalo samarpayatam natujjaladasam sabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara judikadamba sandipetaha sada hridaya kandare spuratuva shachinandanaha. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. Radha Krishna Pranaya Prakritirtharini Shaktirasmat Ekatmanau Api Bhupura Deha Bhedam Gatau Chaitanyakhyam Prakadamadhana Yadvayam Chaityamaktam Radha Bhava Jyuti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. Shri Radhaya Pranayamahima Kitrishovana Swadyo Yena Bhuta Nubhavata Kitrisham Veti Lobhat Sokhyam Chasya Marana Shud Sadyo Yena Bhuta Madhurima Kitrishovamadiya Sokhyam Chasya Marana Bhavatah Kitrisham Veti Lobhat Dadbhavarthya Samajani Shachi Pradha Sintho Harindoho. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Shachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbodhashai Chapayobdhishai Sheshashayasyam Shakalasa Nityanandakhyaramas Sharanam Mamasto. May Shri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshana, Sheshanaga, and the Vishnus who lie in the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his plenary portions and the portions of his plenary portions. Mayati Devya Vivaikuntaloke Urnaishvargeshi Chaturmudyuhamadhye Rupam Yasyodphati Sankarashanakhyam Chitam Shri Nityanandaramam Prapadye. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityanandaram, who is known as Sankarshan in the midst of the Chaturvyuha. That is Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha far beyond material creation. Maya Bhartajam Sankhashriyanga Shete Sakshat Karanam Bodhimadhye Yasyaikansha Shri Pumanadi Devas Tam Shri Nityanandaramam Prapadye. I offer my full obeisances under the feet of Sri Nityanandaram, whose partial representation called Karano Dakashaya Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all universes. Yasyam Shamsha Srila Gaura Yannabhyabjam Loka Sankhatananam Loka Srashtus Sutikatham Adhatus Tam Shri Nityanandaramam Prabhadye. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityanandaram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. Yasyam Shamsha Paratma Khilanam Pushta Vishnur Bhadidubhradhishayi Choni Kartayat Karasopyanantastam Shri Nityanandaramam Prabhadye. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the feet of Sri Nityanandaram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanaga is his further subpart. Mahavishnur Jagat Karta Maya Yasrijat Yatah Tasyavatara Emayam Advaita Acharya Vishwaraha. Lord Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Advaitam Harinavaitad Acharyam Bhaktisham Sanat Bhaktavatarnisham Tam Advaita Acharyam Ashraye. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore I take shelter of him. Now the following verse, the last, it very nicely describes all these personalities that we've discussed. We've discussed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and Sri Advaita Acharya and their ontological identities, which are summed up as follows. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktirupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktaksham Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, Krishna, who is non-different from his features as a devotee, devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. In other words, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. These five are worshipped in the form of what we call Panchatattva. Jayatam Suradapam Gurmamamandamatir Gatimat Sarvasvabadam Hojo Radha Madana Mohanao. Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. Divya Vrindavan Kalpadrunath Srimad Ritnagar Simhasanastha Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prasthami Bhisevyamana Smarani. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. Srimad Rasarasaram Jivam Shiva Dadatastitah Karshandena Svaneya Gopi Gopinath Shriyestunaha. Sri Srila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the Rasa dance, stands on the shore in Vamshiva and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. May they all confer upon us their benediction. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. That is the Mangalacharan of this great book, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now in chapter 3, one of these verses has been described in some detail. so we can recite that again. I'll read the translation. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the Son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation ever offered before. The most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. In his purport, Srila Prabhupada notes, this is a quotation from Vidadhamadhala, a drama compiled and edited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami explains this verse a little bit. He says, Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Raj, is the supreme Lord. He eternally enjoys transcendental pastimes in his eternal abode, Goloka, which includes Brajadham. Once in a day of Brahma, he descends to this world to manifest his transcendental pastimes. We know that there are 4 ages, or yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. These 4 together constitute one Divya Yuga. 71 Divya Yugas, that is to say 71 cycles of Satya, Treta, Dvapara, and Kali. They constitute one Manvantara. And there are 14 Manvantaras in one day of Lord Brahma. And that Brahma we've described, he's born out of the lotus from the stem of Mahavishnu, who is the subpart of Nityananda. The present Manu, who is the 7th, is called Vaivasvata Manu. 27 Divya Yugas, that is 27 times 4,320,000 solar years of his age, have now passed. And we change our cell phone and our address and our job and our spouse and sometimes our guru too every 6 months. So we're talking about very, very long span of time here. And within the scope of eternity, even that is insignificant. But this eternal identity of the Lord manifests itself only now, in this Kali Yuga, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord Krishna. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, of the 28th Divya Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with full paraphernalia of his eternal Vrajadham. Servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love are the 4 transcendental mellows, or rasas. By the devotees who cherish these 4 mellows, Lord Krishna is subdued. Subdued. What does it mean to subdue someone? Vashibhuta, we say in Sanskrit. To bring someone under your control. By bhakti, Krishna can be controlled like this. How much? There's a famous poem written by a local poet who lived about 500 years ago. He said, Sesa Ganesa Dinesa Mahesa Suresa Hujahi Nirantaragami Tese Adi Ananta Ananta Akhanda Achanda Abheda, right? Suveda Batawe Narasam Sukhavyasaratai Pachiharita Upuri Pavana Pave Tahi Ahira Ki Chohariam Chachi Abhari Chachipe Nachna Chave. That means that even great demigods like Shesha and Ganesha and Indra and Surya and all these great, their name, Mahesh is another one, Lord Shiva, they're glorifying the Lord since time immemorial. How are they doing so? They're repeating the words of the Upanishads, which describe him via negativa, neti. In other words, he's called Adi, Anadi, Ananta, Akhanda, Acheda, Abheda, all negative terms. He's beginningless, he's unbroken, he's non-dual, it's so many ways like this. This is the impersonal Brahman that we mentioned a moment ago. And Narad and Vyasdev, Shukdev, Goswami, all these great sages have glorified him since time immemorial with their vast intelligence. They're trying to understand the farthest limit of his glory, and they still cannot. They cannot reach it, even still. Yet, these daughters of cowherd men, they have if you dance, we'll give you a little bit of chaat, a little buttermilk. Then Krishna, he has to follow. And he begins, just to please these gopis, Krishna begins to stamp his little feet. And his mother has tied newborn there, so it makes a sound that cannot be compared to anything within the three worlds. Even the greatest of musicians cannot even approach that sound. So this is Krishna. And what it means to be controlled, only the devotees who have this intimate love, either in dasya bhav, that is servitude, sakya bhav, friendship, vatsalya bhav, is parental love, or madhurya bhav. This is especially what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach. Ujjvala rasa, it's called. The devotees who have that love, they can subdue Krishna. This is the idea. So, absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Krishna enjoys and pleasure with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and consular lovers. But he thinks that devotees who do not have this love, how are they going to experience? He says, although so many people are worshiping him in awe and reverence, or they want liberation, they cannot please him in that same way. So he thinks these liberations, they're not really that special. He says, Yuga dharma pravrataimu nama sankirtana chari bhava bhakti diya nachamu puvana. I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, nama sankirtana, congregational chanting of the holy name, and make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing these four mellows of devotional service. I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. He becomes his devotee. It's called Bhaktivedanta. Unless one practices devotional service himself, he cannot teach it to others. This conclusion is indeed confirmed throughout the scriptures. So thinking thus, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, descended at Nadia early in the age of Kali. Thus the lion-like Lord of Chaitanya has appeared in Navadvip. He has the shoulders of a lion, the power of a lion, the loud voice of a lion. May that lion be situated in the core of every heart of every living being. Thus, with his resounding roar, he may drive away one's elephantine rises. When a lion roars, even the elephants flee. So, in his later, initially he's known as Vishwambara. In his later pastimes, he's known as Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He blesses the whole world by teaching about the name and fame of Lord Krishna. So how many, knowing him, Lord Chaitanya, to be the incarnation of Kali Yuga, Garga Muni during the naming ceremony of Krishna predicted his appearance. We know that this is there in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 8. I'll spare you the Sanskrit. He mentions that the Lord comes in four colors, white, red, black, yellow, and he named those that are not yellow, but it was the yellow incarnation. There's only one left. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's quite a few references in the Shastra which we don't need to go into just now. But in Dvapara Yuga, the personality of God appears blackish, and in the Kali Yuga, he appears yellow. This is what we need to know. How many people know that Krishna comes every Dvapara Yuga? Please raise your hand if you know this. No, we're all intelligent here. I'm trying to trick you. That means we're listening also. So it's not every Dvapara Yuga the Lord himself comes. Swayam Bhagavan. Only in this 27th Manu. So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes immediately after Lord Krishna comes. So it's a very, very special opportunity. Anybody can perform the Yuga Dharma of the Dvapara Yuga and the Kali Yuga, and other incarnations do perform these. But in this particular Kali Yuga that we have been so fortunate to take birth in, now, we have the great opportunity, if we're intelligent, to take advantage of this mercy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just giving away Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema. And especially here in Vrindavan, Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Gaudiyavali that Krishna doesn't always answer the prayers of devotees, even if they worship him very ardently. Sometimes he doesn't fulfill their prayers. But if you just stay in Vrindavan and do nothing else, without any question of your bhajan or no bhajan, as the case may be, if you are just here, then Vraja Devi herself will give you bhakti. That is, for us, that's the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Namah. Srila Rupa Goswami is very intelligently identified the Lord and glorified him in this way. That of all those who are Vedanya, magnanimous, there is no one like you. Because this rare thing that you cannot get any other place, any other time, from any other person, you're just giving that away for free. All one has to do is take it. You just have to receive it. And it's yours for free. If there's a prize, you just have to believe that this is for real. And in this yuga, that's actually a tall order. It's not easy to do because we're always being ripped off, isn't it? So this is the great wonder of the Kali Yuga. He comes in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srimad-Bhagavatam says further on that Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangu Pangas Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtanam Prayar Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. In this age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He's not an incarnation of Krishna. He is Krishna himself. But he appears with the color of Srimati Radharani, and he appears imbued with the mood of Srimati Radharani. We've already read that. Radha Bhavat Jyoti Suvalidam Naumi Krishna Sarupam. Krishna Sarupa means he is Swayam Bhagavan. He is the original, he is the origin of all the multi-forms of Godhead. Those who have seen all the different incarnations of Vishnu, and here we have, in this world, we generally worship Narayan, we worship Mahavishnu, we worship Varahadev sometimes, not so much anymore. Varahadev used to be a very popular deity in this part of the country. In fact, still there's a few temples of his in Mathura. Not so much anymore. Narasimhadev is another form of the Lord. So many different Ramadi, Murtishu Kalani, Amena Tishitanana, Avataram, Karo, Vaneshu Kinto. Brahma Samhita tells us there are multifarious. But of all these incarnations, the origin is Krishna. Ete Changsha Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Bhagavatam says. He is Bhagavan Swayam. And this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Bhagavan Swayam that we've read. He is none other than Krishna himself, but he has the complexion of Srimati Radharani. He has the mood of Srimati Radharani, and he's acting like his devotee, just to teach us by his own example. Otherwise, how can we learn? So, therefore, an intelligent person will worship him in this age. And how do we do so? That's also stated. Sankirtana Praya. Mainly through Sankirtana. We also do other things, but Harinam Sankirtana is the real thing. Golokera Premazhan. Harinam Sankirtana. From Goloka, he has brought this wonderful treasure, molten gold treasure. Sonic Vladini Shakti, in the form of this holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the intelligent conclusion here. Now I'm going to skip ahead to the Madhya Lila. In chapter 25, there is a very beautiful description, very poetic also, of the Sankirtana movement of the Lord. I will begin from text number 264, and then we'll end there because I'm conscious of the time and the fact that there are better things coming. So, to deliver all fallen souls, the Lord traveled from country to country. I used to be on the Sri Radha Damodar traveling Sankirtana party. And Srila Prabhupada used to mention in that regard that we were taking the deity with us of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is also hinted here, 500 years before the fact, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. To deliver all fallen souls, the Lord traveled from country to country. He personally tasted the transcendental pleasure of devotional service, and he simultaneously spread the cult of devotion everywhere. Srila Prabhupada writes, oh, there's a long purport here. I'll read some of it. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally traveled to different regions of India to spread the bhakti cult throughout the country. He also personally relished transcendental activities. By his personal behavior, he has given an example for devotees to follow. That is, one should broadcast the cult of devotional service. He specifically instructed his devotees to enjoin all Indians to broadcast this message throughout the world. Because at that time, the Lord could not personally travel to other parts of the world. He left that for us. All Indians should seriously take up the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and should perfect their lives by adopting the process of devotional service. After perfecting their lives, they should broadcast this message all over the world for the welfare of all human beings. A Vaishnava is especially interested in para upakar, doing good to others. Prahlad Maharaj was also interested in this. He did not want to be delivered alone. Rather, he wanted to deliver all fallen souls who are bereft of knowledge of bhakti and who misuse their intelligence for temporary benefit of the material body. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted his mission spread all over the world. Prithivite ache yata nagaradigram sarvatra prachara hoibe mornam. In every town and village, the chanting of my name will be heard. Following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are trying to broadcast his message throughout the world. By his mercy, people are taking this movement very seriously. Indeed, our books are extensively distributed in the Western countries, especially America and Europe. Even the ecclesiastical orders of these countries are appreciating the value of the Krishna Consciousness movement and are ready to unite for the highest benefit of human society. The followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may therefore take this movement very seriously and broadcast it throughout the world, from village to village and from town to town, just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Members, we've been asked to speak on tattva, so there is a nice quote in this regard. Krishna tattva, bhakti tattva, prema tattva sa, bhava tattva, rasa tattva, lila tattva ar. Krishna consciousness means understanding the truth of Krishna, the truth of devotional service, the truth of love of Godhead, the truth of emotional ecstasy, the truth of transcendental mellows, and the truth of the pastimes of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally preached the transcendental truths and mellows of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Srimad-Bhagavatam and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical, for Srimad-Bhagavatam is the sound incarnation of Sri Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu broadcast the purport of Srimad-Bhagavatam. He sometimes spoke for the benefit of his devotees, and sometimes empowered one of his devotees to speak while he listened. All sane men within the three worlds certainly accept the conclusion that no one is more merciful or magnanimous than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that no one is as kind to his devotees. Gauranga! All devotees should hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes with faith and love. By the grace of the Lord, one can thus attain shelter at his lotus feet. By understanding the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can understand the truth about Krishna. By understanding Krishna, one can understand the limit of all knowledge described in various revealed scriptures. Now, it gets really good here, so please listen. The pastimes of Lord Krishna are the essence of all nectar, and that nectar is flowing in hundreds of rivers in all directions. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are an eternal reservoir, and one is advised to let his mind swim like a swan in this transcendental lake. With all humility, I submit myself to the lotus feet of all of you devotees, taking the dust from your feet as my bodily ornaments. Now, my dear devotees, please hear one more thing from me. Devotional service to Krishna is exactly like a pleasing, jubilant forest of lotus flowers wherein there is ample honey. I request everyone to taste this honey. If all the mental speculators bring the beads of their minds into this forest of lotus flowers and jubilantly enjoy ecstatic love of Krishna day and night, their mental speculation will be completely transcendentally satisfied. All the devotees who have a relationship with Krishna are like the swans and chakralaka birds who play in that forest of lotus flowers. The buds of these lotus flowers are the pastimes of Krishna, and they are the edibles for the swan-like devotees. Lord Shri Krishna is always engaged in his transcendental pastimes. Therefore, the devotees, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, can always eat those lotus buds, for they are the pastimes of the Lord. All the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should go to that lake and remaining always under the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, become swans and chakravaka birds in these celestial waters. They should go on rendering service to Lord Shri Krishna and enjoy life perpetually. In this way, all miseries will be diminished, the devotees will attain great happiness, and there will be jubilant love of God. The devotees who have taken the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take the responsibility for distributing nectarean devotional service all over the world. They are like clouds pouring water on the ground that nourishes the fruit of love of Godhead in this world. There is so much that we can say about this particular verse, but the time is limited, so I have to continue reading. Just remember the first verse of the Gurvashtakam, Samsara Dhavana Nanihalokam, and give that some careful thought for a long time. The devotees eat that fruit to their heart's content, and whatever remnants they leave are eaten by the general populace. Thus they live happily. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are full of nectar, and the pastimes of Lord Krishna are like camphor. When one mixes these, that taste is very sweet. By the mercy of the pure devotees, whoever tastes them can understand the depths of that sweetness. Men become stout and strong and stout by eating sufficient grains. But the devotee who simply eats ordinary grains but does not taste the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna gradually becomes weak and falls down from the transcendental position. However, if one drinks but a drop of the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, his body and mind begin to bloom. And he begins to laugh, sing, and dance. We witnessed this about half an hour ago. This is the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have all been invited into this pastime by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now there's just a few more verses and then I'll finish. The readers should relish this wonderful nectar because nothing compares to it. Keeping their faith firmly fixed within their minds, they should be careful not to fall into the pit of false arguments or the whirlpools of unfortunate situations. If one falls into such positions, he's finished. In conclusion, I submit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and all the other devotees and readers that I accept your lotus feet as the helmet on my head. In this way, all of my purposes will be served. taking the feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Jeev Goswami on my head, I always desire their mercy. Thus, I, Krishna Das, humbly try to describe the nectar, the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are mixed with the pastimes of Lord Krishna. I think I have to stop now. I'll just read, there's one of Prabhupada's purports that is very instructive, so I'll try to be quick and we'll stop. The essence of knowledge is found in the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are identical with the pastimes of Lord Krishna. This is the essence of knowledge. If knowledge does not include the understanding of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, it is simply superfluous. By Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grace, the nectar of Lord Shri Krishna's pastimes is flowing in different directions in hundreds and thousands of rivers. One should not think that the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are different from Krishna's pastimes. It is said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Radha Krishna. Thus, without understanding the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one cannot understand Radha and Krishna. Srila Narottam Das Thakur therefore sings, when shall I become very eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis? Then I shall be able to understand the conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. Following in their footsteps, the other Goswamis understood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his mission. One should understand Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Sri Krishna from the 6 Goswamis in the Parampara system. The Krishna Consciousness movement is following as strictly as possible in the footsteps of the Goswamis. Narottam Das Thakur says, Echai Goswami Jan Mohitar Das. I am the servant of the 6 Goswamis. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness is to become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Whoever wants to understand the difficult subject matter of Krishna Katha should accept the disciplic succession. If one is somehow or other able to understand Krishna, his life is successful. A perfect devotee is able to understand Krishna through the disciplic succession, and his entrance into the kingdom of God is thereby certainly opened. When one understands Krishna, there is no difficulty in transferring oneself to the spiritual kingdom. So again, this is great mercy we've been given, entrance into the Leela of the Lord, by the divine grace of Srila Prabhupada, who is acting in accordance with the order of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada said, I'm one Indian. I've tried to take this order seriously, the order that we heard a moment ago. Particularly, Bharata Bhumite Hoyal Manashita Majar, Wohibat. So, we should not forget that why we're here. We're here by the causeless mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and through the hard efforts of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, on this auspicious occasion, we can humbly bow down at their lotus feet and beg from them for just a drop of their mercy, that we can perfect our human form of life, and then we can do good for others. As Prabhupada emphasized in his purport, one has to become perfect first, then he can help others. I'm going to stop now. Thank you very much.